When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Yes, a very good morning. It is midweek Wednesday for you. And of course, we're here to make sure that we usher into this Wednesday. Well, we also know that it is usually a Women Crush Wednesday, and I have two gentlemen with me in studio who will be also telling me about their crushes for today. But there is a lot happening within the country. Yesterday we did see the UN a special envoy in the country holding talks with President Museveni, and of course that is where the president did insist on the security in the Great Lakes region, of course with more talks on how Uganda is also faring, especially with supporting security organs, other security organs within East Africa and the entire Great Lakes region to make sure that everyone is actually peaceful in whichever country. Now, Uganda is also one of those countries that right now they are considering as being aggressive, especially when it comes to fighting inflation. Well, that is usually the talk. How is our inflation? Do Ugandans even know what inflation rate is at right now? Well, we'll be giving you more of those details. Gentlemen, it is Women Crush Wednesday, but I want to first tell you I'm crushing about this Wednesday. And for me, it's the women in business, and most especially regional, at a regional level. They are holding a trade fair, and mostly specific about business in the region. And of course, that is starting today until Friday. These women have taken it upon themselves to make sure that actually they are boosting business that are owned by women, or even entities that are supported by women organizations, to make sure they also thrive and equate to the main level, actually. But I want to hear from you, Robert. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes.
How are you?
I am all right. I'm doing all right.
You look elegant. I like your hairdo.
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much.
And of course, the jacket matches very well. Good morning, Felix.
Morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm very fine. I like your red tie.
Yeah, you like so many things lately, Robert. Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, our viewers, I don't know what to say I like about you because I can't see you, but I like the fact that you wake up with us every morning to start your day with Good Morning Uganda. Now, for me, I want to crush on ordinary women that work in these markets. Some of them sleep in their stores. Some of them as early as 3 a.m. they're in these markets to ensure they get goods from these trucks that come up country. And one thing I've noticed, a number of these women are single mothers. I don't know why. They're the fathers, they're the mothers, they're the heads of their families. So I want to crush on those ladies. You're doing a very, very great job and setting a trend that being a woman, it doesn't mean that you should only look at other things, but you can stand in that gap. Because of late years, we're also seeing so many men choosing to do things the other way around from our culture, where men would be responsible. Many of them today will tell you, I have a child here, I have a child there, my daughter is graduating, but yeah, there is little they have put into that. So these ladies, the hard ladies, I want to call them, thank you so much. You do a noble cause rather than sitting and saying and see Yankuba or resorting into ladies of the night. They take on this work. So I want to crush on them.
Yes, and of course, I want to bring in Felix. Who are you crushing on this morning?
Well, morning, Mollen. We'll be in a crush Wednesday, definitely. For me, it's going to go to the women who are in the category of being my mother.
Oh, yeah.
Probably looking at people who are about 50 years and above, I guess. Because there's a big difference between those women and the women today. And the difference is very clear in terms of everything, how they used to dress vis-a-vis how people dress today, how they used to talk vis-a-vis what people say today, their mannerism, how they kept their families together, all these things. There is nothing that can beat you, the women of the generation that we take over from. You strong people, you are quite courageous, but definitely you also raised a good generation away from these millennials.
Yes, and of course, mothers, aren't they the greatest? Well, gentlemen, there have been claims towards the Ministry of Finance saying that they have, clashed the parish development model money from the 100 million to 25 million. Now, the minister did, spell out that these are wrong claims, but we also need to know what is happening with the parish development model. Well, where is that money? Why isn't it even being implemented by now? We had a huge excitement, and I remember Robert here even cramming all the pillars of the parish development model, but we still ask, what happened to that money?
Well, first funds, because when the minister, Masugo, said we were looking at a supplementary budget, you know that they will be presenting about 112 billion. We must accept the economy. We are having challenges in terms of finances, so that is one of the hindrances. But also with the parish development model, it is that government is doing all it takes not to repeat the mistakes of other avenues that have been looking at lifting people from that is the non-money economy into money economy. That is why you see the procedures. Now you have to have circles, which many are calling as entities and or enterprises. So there is so much tightening compared to the previous projects where government, I think, had not learned so much from mistakes, where money was just dished anyhow. The parish development model, it takes a lot of levels for you to get the money compared to other programs. Then coupled with the fact we must accept that money, we don't know what is happening, but money. Seems also government is struggling.
Issues of handling money, but is this smoke without fire? Because they already say there is no smoke without fire. If they're saying maybe the money that was allocated for each parish has been slashed from 100 million per parish to 25 million per parish. But of course, ministry is now saying no, that is not the case. Felix, is
the
this
minister
the smoke
actually
without
said
fire?
they are going to issue 25 in quarterly basis, not as they had promised, and direct to the circles now.
It seems like Ugandans were thinking it's the 100 per quarter. Is this smoke without fire, Felix?
Tell you what, the worst thing is to ever hear government coming out to say they are not able to kick off with a particular program they put in place, or they are having installment or whatever, because they have all the facilitation to make plans before they make such funny announcements. You know, and when you're looking at probably projects that talk about poverty alleviation, you must not excite people without due capacity, given and known. All right, so I think it's a very bad image for government, depending, and it's not the first time they are cutting the money. It depends. It's not the first time, my dear. The first time they said they are going to give how much, they've smiled, brought 7 million. It's a bit.
That was 17. Then also some never got the 17.
It's for me. I'm not excited by those funny.
But you get
I'm not even a beneficiary anyway. So.
Money issues, we do hope that actually they keep up the promise, and people get to benefit from most of this. But a lot is happening across the country, and of course more investigations into an alleged liquor, which is a local gin that was brewed, and apparently a lot of people died from taking this liquor, and of course others are still victimized in a hospital, 20 of them. And you ask yourself, what is happening to our country to that extent of people just brewing any type of alcohol? That means that they are not certified. Where is UNBS in this? And why do we still have such plants within the country, even to such extent of people dying from taking that kind of liquor?
First, it is a very regrettable incident. When we lose Ugandans, we want everyone to be alive, so it is very regrettable. But most of the times, I think we nail UNBS for the wrong reasons. Why am I saying so? That It is not UNBS that comes to you and tell you come and register. It is you to know that at this stage, I must go and register my plant. They're not the ones to look for you. Yes, they carry out operations and curb those that have not yet registered. But procedure is, you begin your factory, you go, you seek accreditation from UNBS. You take your products, they analyze them. Now what happened when it comes to this factory or this particular brewing center in Arua, because people from Arua and Madioko were the ones that were most affected. It had never registered itself. It hadn't. And that's why they keep on telling Ugandans that before you consume anything, look for the Q mark. That is the UNBS. Does that waraji you're taking have that? Does that drink, does that, anything that is locally made should have that mark. So you have a personal responsibility as a Ugandan. Even responsibility to report that there is a factory here they are working on, but they're not accredited. Come and check. And also, I think drunkenness is becoming a problem in our country. Actually, Honorable Hilary Onek, the minister, said that one of the things that is killing people in Karamoja is waraji. These people are drinking so much, they have little they have eaten, and some just passed Nebafa. So drunkenness, go to any village. You know, this is something we must address seriously. Go to Rubaga, go to Machindi.
Which part of Rubaga?
You have drunkards.
Which part of Rubaga?
Anywhere.
When you bring in Rubaga, it's like you're getting to
You
some
go to
now.
Rubaga. Where in Rubaga?
But you also look into
There are
the
no
fact that
drunkards there. You go to Machindi. Machindi is the hub of
Where in
everywhere in Machindi.
Everywhere in Rubaga.
that place has a lot of clubs for sure.
But not the drunkards of Waraji I'm talking about.
Well, Felix, but doesn't this also speak to the reduced nature of operations that UNBS actually carries out? Because to the extent that this plant has been selling this liquor for quite some time, shouldn't there be enough at least of those operations to make sure that we don't have such incidences? What is happening with
Well, I think, Mollen, the problem is also generally we must not take our eyes far from what's the general condition of people in this country and the reasons as to why people resort to alcohol. I think we must give due appreciation to the same. Many people are going through lots of depression, stress, trauma, anxiety, just to mention but a few. And that's why most people turn to alcohol. Now, in this particular region, you know that it's been struggling for many, many reasons. So we must look at the bigger picture away from just the alcohol. Why do people turn to alcohol? This has not been the norm. This has not been the norm most recent. We just can't ignore the general reasons as to why most recent drug abuse has increased greatly. All right? And not only in that region, by the way. In every other part of the country. Let me tell you, we have a silent bomb in our community, in our families. Something to do with stress, trauma, depression, and anxiety. And it has risen so high in most recent times. So when you talk about drug abuse, trust me, you have a relationship that is direct to all those reasons that I've sort of put across.
But Mollen, there's also something very interesting right from alcohol that happened in Mukono. Remember, science teachers received salary enhancement. Now what happened in Mukono, I think when they were submitting names, they made a mistake. So arts teachers got money for science teachers. Science teachers, some had their money remaining. Now the authorities in Mukono have told us arts teachers that the money you got is equivalent to about 4 months of your salary. So for 4 months you're not going to be receiving salary because we made that mistake. So you use that money sparingly so that it can take you through the 4 months.
In that scenario, I just leave the job.
You just leave
as long as I have my money, what do I?
That's a very interesting
scenario. Science teachers are saying we didn't get the enhancement. Arts teachers went smiling to their accounts and found their times for what.
Well, clearly they had the God they were praying for actually did answer, but then the consequences will be that they have to wait and use the money sparingly. Well, a lot of more local stories are happening across the country and of course internationally, but we will be starting off with some on the local scene. Robert, start us off.
Well, we begin with the government injecting more money in post-bank Uganda to help SMEs and agro businesses survive or revive to stay in the post-COVID period. Government has injected more money in post-bank Uganda as a recovery fund to help struggling SMEs and agribusiness at the lowest rate and longer repayment period. State Minister for Investment and Privatization, Evelyn Anite, said this is a deliberate move to revive all SMEs and agribusiness that were affected by COVID-19. In 2020, a number of key businesses were heavily affected by the outbreak of COVID-19. These included small and medium enterprises, agro-processing, among others. To enable the recovery of businesses, government has put up a post-recovery fund primarily to spur agri-processing, manufacturing, and SMEs. The over 500 billion credit facility will be accessed from as low as 500,000 to 5 billion shillings, available at Post Bank at the lowest interest rate and a longer repayment period.
Still in local stories, now the Parliamentary Committee on Commission, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises have issued fresh summons to Uganda Airlines CEO Jennifer Bamuturaki to appear before the committee on Wednesday this week. Now this follows the Bamuturaki notification to the committee that she had an emergency meeting with the African Airline Association Secretary General, that is Abraham Beth, who's in the country to accelerate the pace of African air transport growth on global scene, hence colliding with the committee sitting. Now by 10 a.m. the parliamentary members on this particular committee had convened to meet with officials from the Uganda Airlines.
And away from that, government has revisited its position on the disbursement of funds for the parish development model in the current financial year. The State Minister for Finance, Amos Lugorobi, said the 100 million shillings per parish will now be distributed in quarterly system, with each parish receiving 25 million shillings. The new arrangement, the funds will be set directly to the beneficiaries' circles, unlike the prior notice of channeling the funds through the Chief Administrative Officer. Government has continued to make changes in the implementation of the parish development model, which was introduced to surpass economic growth of the country through lifting respective parishes. To date, 8,333 circles have been registered and qualify to benefit from the PDM project. State Minister for Finance Amos Lugorobi said the parish which have not yet initiated circles should do that very soon. The registered circles were meant to benefit from the first enrollment equivalent to 17.5 million for each parish in the financial year 2021-2022. However, this was not fully implemented since some circles never received a penny, yet others received less than a quarter of the 17 million shillings.
Well, of course, now looking at the express ticket defaulters, over at least 142 million shillings has been recovered in the express penalty ticket defaulters operation that did start on Monday. Now, Kampala Metropolitan Traffic Commander Roger Nsereko says out of at least 1,024 tickets issued, 1,022 were paid, as others willingly walked to Central Police Station to acquire tickets to pay for this particular money. Now, it is second day of the express penalty ticket operation, and police in Kampala Metropolitan did make effort to recover at least 142 million shillings in the ongoing operation to catch the express penalty ticket defaulters. Now, the express ticket has at least 28 days expiry date that attracts a 50% surcharge. Some of the defaulters request the tickets to have their cars cleared.
And on our international scene, Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin has apologized for a topless photo of guests at her official residence. It comes days after she deflected accusations of having an excessive party lifestyle by voluntarily taking a drug test, which came back clean. The latest photo of two well-known influencers was taken inside the Prime Minister's residence in July and widely shared on social media on Tuesday. Ms. Marin admitted the picture is not appropriate and apologized. In it, two women were seen kissing each other, covering up their bare chests with an official-looking sign reading Finland. Now, on Monday, Ms. Marin said the party at her official residence in Helsinki, Kesaranta, happened after the Rose Rock Music Festival in July, and Finnish media report that the photo was taken in downstairs her building. "We had sauna, swam and spent time together," Ms. Marin said. "This kind of picture should not have been taken, but otherwise nothing extraordinary happened at the get-together," she added. The 36-year-old, who came to power in 2019, was until recently the world's youngest prime minister. Now, the current political drama surrounding her comes as Finland is investigating its bid to join the NATO military alliance and responds to its neighbors, Russia's invasion to Ukraine. Sanna Marin has made no secret of enjoying normal activities such as going to clubs with friends and attending the music festival in July, despite criticism from some corners of Finnish public life. And crossing over to Malaysia, Malaysian former Prime Minister Najib Razak has been sent to jail to begin serving a 12-year sentence after the top court rejected his appeal. The 69-year-old charges relate to a corruption scandal involving state-owned wealth fund, One Malaysia Development Berhad. He was convicted in July 2020 but had been out on bail during the appeal. Court has also denied Najib's request to delay his sentence. He has continued to deny any wrongdoings, and in 2020, a court had found him guilty on 7 counts, centered on a total of 42 million ringgit. That is an equivalent of 8 million euros, which was transferred from SRC International, a former unit of One Malaysian Berhad, into his private account. He was sentenced to 12 years jail and a fine of 210 million ringgit, which is equivalent to 39.7 million euros. The defense team had urged that Najib was led to believe the funds in his account were donated by a Saudi royal family rather than misappropriate from a state fund. They also claimed that he was misled by financial advisors, particularly fugitive financier Joe Law, who had been charged in both the US and Malaysia, but also maintains his innocence. In his final push for freedom on Tuesday, Najib's lawyer requested the removal of the Chief Justice Tengku Maimon Mat from the panel presiding over the case in what was seen as a bid to forestall a final verdict. They claimed she could have been biased as her husband had made a Facebook post in 2018 which was critical of Najib.
Now crossing back to Africa, a group of Kenyans have filed cases against the UK government at the European Court of Human Rights for alleged colonial abuses. Now these include alleged theft of land, which is still being used for tea farms, and the clans say that the UK's alleged lack of engagement to seek redress has violated the European Convention on Human Rights. The UK Foreign Office has told the BBC it was inappropriate to comment on the legal proceedings. That is representatives for the Talai and Kipsigis who are originally from Kericho County say they tried to meet the UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss in May 2022, but they were turned down. The Talai clan says its members were forcefully evicted from the fertile land in the highlands and off the Rift Valley to pave the way for the tea plantations, and this led to resistance against the European settlements. Now, of course, to quash it, every member of the clan was forcefully moved to detention in a tsetse fly and mosquito-infested valley near present-day Lake Victoria.
And in the weather and climate news, Europe facing its worst drought for 500 years. Now, Europe is facing its worst drought, with 2/3 of the continent in a state of alert or warning, reducing inland shipping, electricity production, and the yields of certain crops, a European Union agency reports. The August report of the European Drought Observatory, overseen by European Commission, said that 47% of Europe is undergoing warning conditions as moisture in the soil dries out, and 17% of the region is on a state of alert as vegetation is affected. The severe drought affecting many regions of Europe since the beginning of the year has been further expanding and worsening as of early August, the report said. adding that Western Europe Mediterranean region was likely to experience warmer and drier than normal conditions until November. Much of Europe has faced weeks of baking temperatures this summer, which worsened the drought, causing wildfires, setting off health warnings and prompted calls for more action to tackle climate change. But the current drought appeared to be the worst in at least 500 years, assuming final data at the end of the season confirmed the preliminary assessment. Now, the Commission said in a statement on Tuesday that summer crops have suffered with the 2022 yields of grain maize crops that have suffered, and to that 16% below the average of the previous 5 years, and soybean and sunflower yields said to fall by 15% and 12% respectively. Well, there you have it. At least you also look into the fact that most of these events that are happening across tackling climate change do call for action. But well, we also need to call for action when it comes to our health, and this is where we come in every morning to tell you more about Hallelujah products. Robert, what are we talking about today?
Oh, prevention has always been better than cure. So I come to you with these bottles to remind you that they boost your immune system. Hallelujah ginger tea, hallelujah tamarind drink, and hallelujah banana juice at just 1,500. Get yourself any of these, and I recommend continuous use. What will happen? You'll save so much, your body will be healthy, but you'll still save money for other productive or developmental roles. So at just 1,000, any retail shop, any supermarket, the drinks are there.
Yes. Well, being a Wednesday, we also need to inspire you, and of course bringing in some of the sensational sounds from phenomenal ladies, and that is where we come in with the song of the day. And for this morning we'll be giving you that, but also after that we'll be coming back with newsreel. And this morning we want to look into the evictions that are being done in wetland areas, specifically on Ubiji, but also general outlook on what is happening with the wetlands in the country. We'll be having a very special guest with us as well. We'll be taking us more into most of those details when we come back. But for now, let's take you through the inspirational song for this morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
And the women today. And the difference is very clear in terms of everything, how they used to dress vis-a-vis how people dress today, how they used to talk vis-a-vis what people say today, their mannerism, how they kept their families together, all these things. There is nothing that can beat you, the women of the generation that we take over from. You strong people, you are quite courageous, but definitely you also raised a good generation away from these millennials.
Yes, and of course, mothers, and they the greatest. Well, gentlemen, there have been claims towards the Ministry of Finance saying that they have, clashed the parish development model money from the 100 million to 25 million. Now, the minister did, spell out that these are wrong claims, but we also need to know what is happening with the parish development model. Well, where is that money? Why isn't it even being implemented by now? We had a huge excitement, and I remember Robert here even grabbing all the pillars of the parish development model, but we still ask what happened to that money.
Well, first funds, because when the minister Masugo said we were looking at a supplementary budget, you know that they will be presenting about 112 billion.
Between those women and the women today. And the difference is very clear in terms of everything, how they used to dress vis-a-vis how people dress today, how they used to talk vis-a-vis what people say today, their mannerism, how they kept their families together, all these things. There is nothing that can beat you, the women of the generation that we take over from. You strong people, you are quite courageous, but definitely you also raised a good generation away from these millennials.
Yes, and of course, mothers, and they the greatest. Well, gentlemen, there have been claims towards the Ministry of Finance saying that they have, clashed the parish development model money from the 100 million to 25 million. Now, the minister did, spell out that these are wrong claims. But we also need to know what is happening with the parish development model. Well, where is that money? Why isn't it even being implemented by now? We had a huge excitement, and I remember Robert here even grabbing all the pillars of the parish development model, but we still ask what happened to that money.
Well, first funds, because when the minister, Masugo, said we were looking at a supplementary budget, you know that there will be everything how they used to dress vis-a-vis how people dress today, how they used to talk vis-a-vis what people say today, their mannerism, how they kept their families together, all these things. There is nothing that can beat you, the women of the generation that we take over from. You strong people, you are quite courageous, but definitely you also raised a good generation away from these millennials.
Yes, and of course, mothers, and they the greatest. Well, gentlemen, there have been claims towards the Ministry of Finance saying that they have, clashed the parish development model money from the 100 million to 25 million. Now, the minister did, spell out that these are wrong claims, but we also need to know what is happening with the parish development model. Well, where is that money? Why isn't it even being implemented by now? We had a huge excitement, and I remember Robert here even grabbing all the pillars of the parish development model, but we still ask what happened to that money.
Well, first funds, because when the minister, Masugo, said we were looking at a supplementary budget, you know that they will be presenting about 112 billion.
Between those women and the women today. And the difference is very clear in terms of everything how they used to dress vis-a-vis how people dress today, how they used to talk vis-a-vis what people say today, their mannerism, how they kept their families together, all these things. There is nothing that can beat you, the women of the generation that we take over from.
Somebody must be there to hold everybody accountable.
Every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
First of all, we as the elites of Uganda, we have made Museveni the issue. I can tell Museveni is not the problem of Uganda. The problems of Uganda are much deeper. We can change the next 20 presidents and we'll still be this roundabout.
Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard super easy.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using Tugabane. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission. Live
from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Have you back, and this morning we're going to be taking you through one of the most talked about topics right now, especially when it comes to how we use our environment, and our focus is going to be on wetlands. That also hails from the fact that yesterday we did see the National Environmental Management Authority carrying out operations, especially around Rubiji, and that was also aimed at evicting people from who are misusing the wetland. And of course, this morning we'll also be later on having the ED of NEMA on call with us, talking more into that. And obviously we do know that core functions of these wetlands have been ranging from especially flood protection. And you look at districts like Kampala and Wakiso that do depend on most of these wetlands, especially when it comes to the water that flows from the cities into the Rubiji. Also the fact that these wetlands actually help to filter the water that goes downstream. And you know, at the end of most of these areas like Rubiji, there are people actually using this water for home consumption, and so if we encroach on them, that means we're also jeopardizing the water that's being filtered through Rubiji. But we also know that the report that did come out in 2016 from UBOS indicates that 69% of the subsistence farming that is relied upon is dependent on wetlands. So which means that also encroaching on these wetlands, you're also affecting indirectly the farming that continuously also depends on the water that flows through most of these wetlands. And we also know that one of the issues that have been mostly affecting the restoration of most of these wetlands is that wrangle between government and the people trying to encroach on these wetlands. But that is where we also want to involve you in a discussion this morning. When we talk about restoring of these wetlands, has there been enough work done? Are people even aware when they encroach these wetlands? And I want to start off with you, Felix. Because we want to look at the big picture on what really happens when people are encroaching on these wetlands. Are they aware? Are they even given notices on this?
Well, Mollen, when you look at wetlands, and probably the statistics you did give about their purposes is a major reason as to why everyone should get interested in whether or not they do encroach, and how do we make it our own duty to even protect wetlands for that matter. We have seen many floods in this country. You've given an example of Kampala and Wakiso, but I can tell you as a matter of fact, the most recent scourges we have had in the east, I think far east, were because of such. Now, when you talk about encroachment, it is definitely, but by virtue of the word, it makes it illegal. Now, the question is, with or without knowledge, does it change the effect of the act, or does it legalize? And no wonder we have a saying that ignorance
of the law
definitely will not abscond you from being responsible. So actually the discussion shouldn't be whether they know or they don't know. Now, trying to remedy that particular challenge, that's why government, in the wisdom of its own guidance and probably also trying to abide and articulate the existence of various international charters in terms of environment, put in place bodies. And if you to evaluate, as you will be talking to the ED, you may have to ask him the roles of NEMA in particular. And they do stretch from preventative action later on to enforcement. You understand? Away from doing the post-mortem of saying we are dealing with now chasing encroachers, those budgets you involve, how about we put them into prevention? One, the question that we have been asking ourselves, and when we started to see these crackdowns, the big question that comes to our mind is, has there been a true known gazette of the areas that we are discussing about, what we call the wetlands? What is the land policy? What is the law or the land policy in relation to people who own such catchments as private property. The other question then would be, can individual persons own such places? If so, how much of such places can be owned? And of course, what is the government control in relation to this? Because there's been a big friction between personal ownership of wetlands vis-a-vis government ownership.
Well, I think that is also more of the discussion that we shall be having with the ED NEMA, who is joining us this morning. That is Mr. Barilenga Akankwasa, about issues related to the restoration of the Rubiji. And of course, we also know that NEMA did mention that they will have a 1-week operation across Rubiji aimed at restoring Rubiji to its core ecological functions. And of course, a lot of that is also has to do with the fact that we're not aware that people who actually got into this kind of settlement and construction and all the cultivation were aware of this. We want the ED to tell us more about this. Very good morning to you, Mr. Kankwasa.
A very good morning to you and our dear listeners and viewers.
Yes. Mr. Kankwasa, we want to know more about the operation that NEMA did carry out yesterday across Rubiji for the ecological core functions of the Rubiji. How is this going ahead, and how long is it going to be taking, and of course the aims and of this operation?
Well, we are in Rubiji to ensure that the Rubiji is restored back to its core ecological status. We are trying to remove encroachers from Rubiji so that it can continue providing the much needed ecological services of flood control, pollution control, buffering of our lakes, and as well as climate amelioration, and as well as also, you know, the wetland is important for absorbing unwanted emissions, and you know this is an urban wetland, so it's extremely important for our healthy living as urban people. It is the only big wetland that is actually serving Wakiso and Kampala areas in terms of controlling flooding, in terms of underground water recharge system, but most importantly, buffering our lakes from pollution. So that's why we are there. We are there to clean it up. The operation started yesterday, and will continue for an specified period. We do not want to go into details of the operation, as that would jeopardize the operation. All we can say is that the operation is going on.
Yes, and also one would wonder, because we know that NEMA has a watchdog, and of course now we see people doing construction, settlement, and all these activities. We want to know, how do people end up there? Have there been operations before, at least to make sure that we don't have the problem in the first place of encroachment?
Yes, there has been several operations in the Rubiji area. The most recent one was in 2016 when the people were evicted there. But as you know, human nature, they keep coming back. And so we don't get tired. We continue preaching the message of the need to conserve that ecosystem for the good of us all. But we also continue to ensure that encroachment doesn't happen. The sustainable way of having it would be permanent presence, and the government is moving to recruit staff to be permanently stationed there in terms of active management, the way national parks are managed, the way central forest reserves are managed. It's the sustainable way of saving the wetlands. We should have wetlands conserved in terms of active management on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to leaving them without active management. As we see, that approach hasn't worked, so we need to move towards active management of the remaining wetlands to avoid losing them
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you also look into the fact that now this has led to more of the eviction that is coming now. But some locals are also saying that they were not aware, they did not get prior notice about the eviction, and of course now they would be calling for more time. Is this something that you have done as NEMA to make sure that these people are, you know, noticed prior so that they can prepare themselves to being evicted?
There are two issues. One is that it is true we issued the restoration orders and vacation notes to people a long time ago, and the 21 days have lapsed, as you know. But it is also not true that to enforce the law you must always give notice. If you catch a thief in stealing money in a bank, the thief cannot give a plea that, you see, I need to first be given a notice to stop stealing. So encroachment is an offense, and wherever we find you encroaching, we enforce the law. But to answer your question, yes, we did issue restoration orders, and we did give people time to vacate, and we still call upon people who are encroaching on wetlands to vacate voluntarily, so that we can have harmony with nature, so that we can allow these wetlands to regenerate, to serve all of us. Because when floods come, when global warming happens, all of us suffer equally, whether you encroached or you did not encroach. So it is in the interest of the very people encroaching to vacate voluntarily, so that all of us can enjoy the ecological services of these wetlands.
Well, Doctor, also help us understand, the wetlands for the rich and the poor should not be there. Why? Because we hear people have certificates to work in these wetlands. We see some parts in this country, we have industrial parks, but these are well-known wetlands. So when you evict these yam, banana, people planting banana, doing some bit of planting trees here and there, doesn't it create an impact or an image or impression that it is the poor to leave the wetlands and the rich can use them?
First of all, we do not want to condemn the poor to die. Because being poor should not be a crime to die. When you grow yams, bananas, sugar canes in an urban wetland, which is heavily laden with heavy metals like mercury, like lead, because of the wetland managing pollutants from a neighborhood, then you are condemning the poor to die. So it wouldn't be prudent to condemn the poor to eat heavy metal laden foods, cabbages, sugarcane, matoke, which are laden with heavy metals. We would be condemning them to death, because that food, first of all, is not fit for human consumption due to pollutants within urban wetlands. If it was an upcountry wetland that is not urban, that food may be consumable, but the food in Rubiji and other urban wetlands wouldn't be fit for human consumption. So first of all, we must save people from poisoning themselves. But two, when we are doing enforcement, we don't look at how much money you have on your bank account. We don't know your economic status. For us, we look at encroachment, we look at somebody who has offended the law. So we do not first classify that, you see, for you, you have 1 billion on account, so we shall leave you. For you are a poor man, we shall take you. No, our operations do not classify people according to their economic status. And as you will be observing, our operations are actually going to be sweeping. We shall be sweeping. So there is no segregation, whether you are rich or poor. For as long as you have offended the law will be enforced against you.
So quite another one also, just to find out from NEMA as an institution, why don't we focus and invest more on proactive measures to avoid people to actually encroach on these wetlands than spending money on enforcement, because it does come with its own rigorous challenges?
Yes, it's true. I said earlier that the sustainable way is to continue educating the public, is to continue engaging the local people, is to promote alternative sources of livelihoods in suitable wetlands. For example, fishing and aquaculture can do well in wetlands. not urban wetlands, though, because of the pollution I talked about. So government will continue to promote alternative sources of livelihoods to people dependent on wetlands, so that they can coexist with wetlands. You can still make money, say, from aquaculture. If you line fish ponds along the edges of the wetlands near you, you can still make more money actually than the money people are making in growing rice, yams, etc. So it is true, the most sustainable way is not enforcement. Enforcement only comes to clean up, and then you need active management. You need a manager stationed on at the ecosystem with a management plan, engaging the people, developing the wetland for economic activities that are compatible. For example, tourism. There is a wetland called Bigodi in Kamwenje. That wetland makes a lot of money for the communities. The communities have made so many things: schools, hospitals, scholarships for their children from using that wetland for tourism, just budding, what we call heavy tourism. So you can do a lot more livelihood activities on wetlands without damaging them.
So maybe just Mr. Edie, just a quick one. Is there possibilities that individuals own wetlands in the law? Is it covered, or does it definitely they all do belong to government as an institution? Do we have scenarios where we have individuals owning some of these wetlands?
The scenarios where individuals own wetlands are those who have titles issued before 1995, because wetlands were first conserved by the 1995 Constitution, and so every wetland where it is existing after 1995 would be public land and is protected. So titles issued after 1995 are null and void, and those wetlands belong to government. But titles issued before 1995, the titles remain valid, and the owners are true owners. However, they cannot use this land the way they want. They have to follow land use guidelines. They have to conserve the environment as they continue to use their land.
Okay, and of course, there is also information that one has to acquire rights to be able to use the wetlands, even in this age, as you're talking about, prior to what was issued way back when you say those will be null and void. But up to now, we do know that there is a criteria to acquire rights to use the wetland. How is that done, and what is the basis of that criteria?
The law allows you to apply for what we call wetland user permit for compatible activities. For example, wetlands can be used for filtering waste or sewage treatment, like you see National Water and Sewage Corporation plant at Rubiji, which is there. You can also acquire a permit, for example, to pass electricity transmission lines on wetlands. You've seen roads being suspended. For example, the express highway to Entebbe is suspended above a wetland. So you can actually acquire a permit to use wetlands for compatible activities. For example, fish farming, for recreation activities. But the law does not allow use of wetlands to be converted from wetlands into permanent land, into unflooded land, for example, through backfilling. That is illegal and should be condemned.
Doctor, also recently we heard that NEMA now you no longer give people authority to use wetlands. How true is this, and enlighten more? What process, how did you arrive to this? Because previously, like you've talked, people would get permits, but I'm told around either early this year or late last year, you came up with a decision that now wetlands should be left as wetlands.
Yes, it is true. On 2nd September 2021, we decided to suspend issuance of permits and certificates in wetlands as a radical measure to protect the remaining wetlands and save ourselves from losing wetlands. If you look at the statistics, we've lost our wetland cover from 15% in less than 10 years to now only 8.9% intact wetlands. And so at the rate we are losing wetlands, if we do not take radical measures, by 2040 we shall be remaining with about less than 2% of our wetland cover. So yes, it is true, we took a radical measure as part of government wider efforts to save the remaining wetlands, and since 2nd September 2021, we suspended further issuance of permits and certificates for use of wetlands to give them a lease of life. Otherwise, we were losing them at a faster rate. But also the issue was, if you give a permit, for example, for somebody to do fish farming, people would abuse that right. Instead of doing fish farming, they would construct houses. So until we have adequate capacity to effectively monitor the conditions of the permit, we decided to say let us suspend. We first build our internal capacity to monitor, then we can reconsider later.
Then also a quick one, Doctor. What does the law say in case I've been found working in a wetland? I'm growing my yams there. In case I'm arrested and I don't just take off or away from just destroying my property?
Where you can be prosecuted for an offense of development in a wetlands without a permit, which is an offense under the law, and the courts can decide to fine you or imprison you depending on what the courts will have decided.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nkankwasa, for having this conversation with us. And of course, we do appreciate NEMA's efforts towards making sure that we have a very core function of wetlands that is restored to its ecological way. And of course, that is where we'll also be taking it from, because you look at the fact that most of the Ugandans are being affected by this. Thank you very much again, Dr. Nkankwasa, for this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, Robert, I know that you have been mostly involved in farming, at least among the three of us. And you look at the fact that most of what is happening is people who are cultivating into these wetlands are actually introducing unfamiliar species that they're talking about. They have replaced papyrus with eucalyptus. You look at sugarcane. Some of these crops are not supposed to be within the wetlands. And people continuously do that. Away from the food crops, you talk about the yams, but also these will actually be killing the core functions of these wetlands. And are people even aware that this is likely to be affecting the wetland itself?
First, we must understand, why do we see people go into these wetlands? One, you find that Uganda, much as we boast of our backbone being agriculture, we still depend so much on rainfall-fed agriculture. Now, wetlands therefore become the victim, that there is water almost throughout. So a farmer would feel easy to go and plant crops in a wetland because you won't have to irrigate, the water is throughout there. Second, population increments, that now people look for any place because land is very expensive, and a number of these wetlands, by the way, very few people have land titles to them. So people know that you can access them as long as government has not gotten you. Then also, Felix asked about proactiveness, that people do not know exactly how. And I'm glad when NEMA says that from the 22nd of September 2021, they stopped any activity. That people do not know what you should grow in a wetland. For them, when they hear that kalitunsi, eucalyptus, pine, these do very well, they will take them there. So there hasn't been enough sensitization. That is why now when they say, because we cannot regulate, let's leave them, do not use them. So there's a lot of pressure that people will look for any fertile or any place that has water. Population is increasing, but also we've not looked at alternative ways of what can be done in this wetland, well guided, like when it comes to people who want to set up factories. For them, because these are investors and they have big monies, when they go to NEMA, they seek what they call an environment impact assessment report. So they'll ask you, which factory do you want to put there? Then they will come and assess the danger. Then they will give you safe ways of how you can do that to mitigate the reactions of this wetland. However, also that has had challenges, that someone, if they tell him you need a pipe of sewer pipe of this size, you need to take it to this far, because it has costs and there isn't enough inspection, they will divert to that. So there's still a lot of ignorance. That is why His Excellency, one time, there's a very big wetland in Eastern called Limoto wetland. His Excellency told people, well, we can change. Instead of you growing rice in this wetland, let's carry out fish farming, and they are reaping times 10 of what they were getting in rice growing.
Yes. Well, we also know that, at least from what the ED has talked about, is that there is action that is being taken, especially when you look at people who are encroaching on this. That is one of the many operations that government is doing, especially when it comes to restoring the environment to its core nature. Felix, as we move to conclude, is this enough, or is government even doing more of this? Because it's not just happening in Kampala and Wakiso and Rubiji, to be specific. There are a lot of wetlands that are being degraded. What has been mostly government's efforts towards this?
Well, wetlands and any other catchments for us should be a big deal. And the reasoning is simple, because we are still under a good patterned weather system. Like, we know the rain patterns, the rain season and all these things. So the danger it has caused is quite a lot. But also, what have we done is almost like, it's not enough. And starting from the law, okay? If you're having individuals owning wetlands, that in its own self is problematic, because you will not be able to limit what they can do or what they can't do on their premises. Secondly, do we have the right people in the right places? NEMA in its own self cannot work alone in terms of helping this situation. There are also these district offices. For example, Lubiji, I think, should be under probably Wachiso or something. But when people take their building plans, they are approved even when they are in wetlands. You understand? If your plans are approved, yet the construction is going to be in a wetland, I don't think that should be NEMA. So what I'm saying is that it's sort of like it's a multi-institutional approach in terms of wetlands. We have the biggest challenge, and for me, that is the dearest, is politics. This thing they call politics is in every other business, whether private business or public business. Because you know, between you and me, some of the places where you see big buildings, as Robert said, are owned by big politicians. 1, 2, people who build there are seconded by politicians. So, in as much as the crackdown is going on, these guys may hit a dead end because they'll fall on the back of a big politician. I don't know even what that, a big politician, or people who seemingly have made their small kingdoms of power.
Connections. The word is
so
connections.
The biggest challenge, because people who are in wetlands, some of them have been allocated there, as you said. Most of the industrial parks in Kampala are in wetlands. Now, how do you deal with that? So we must diffuse issues of politics from every other business of this country. Again, let systems work. Simple.
Well, and you also want to be the Ugandan that helped with the change. So we call upon all of you to really take it as an effort, a personal effort, to not actually get more of these inconveniences, especially when it comes to evictions. And of course, some of the statistics are indicating that Ugandan wetland coverage could be depleted by 2040 if concerted efforts towards restoration are not accelerated. So we want to be the Ugandans that accelerated that process. Well, away from that, we'll also be going through the traffic updates, and of course after that we'll also be looking into weather and the sports highlights, but also after this we'll be taking you through what is trending in the newspapers. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more.
Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kaso's my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth, in the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, Good Morning Uganda continues. If you're just joining us, a very warm welcome. We're going to take you through some of the stories in the newspapers. I have the New Vision. Felix has the Daily Monitor. Felix, what do we have for the Daily Monitor?
Now, in the Daily Monitor, the big headline: government officials arrested for stealing party's parish development model cash, and definitely at least 14 senior government workers have been arrested. Now, also in the same papers, travelers raise alarm over forced COVID tests and body of boy found in Wakiso septic tank. Now, NEMA evicts refugee swamp encroaches, and government names cancer causing drugs on market. But also still in the Daily Monitor, dead migrant workers' family protest at Saudi embassy. They are quite a sad one. But also in History Today, Tanzania and Uganda force clash and at Mutukula, and killer in Norway massacre is sentenced.
Well, going over to the New Vision, you look at 4,000 science teachers miss new salary, and arts teachers receive pay for scientists. A very interesting one on pages 3 and 32 of the New Vision for this morning. Also, they give you a big picture right there as Museveni meets UN envoy, and of course more of those details are on page 6 of the New Vision. Parish development model, 15 district officials arrested. Details are on page 31. And of course, they also give you China-Uganda ties improve livelihoods. Muhoozi meets Ethiopian security chiefs. That is a detailed story on page 10 of the New Vision for this morning. Now, crossing over to the second page, I give you a story of beauty of the Fratanos. Of course, giving you more on that. They give you pictures, and the UIA acquires more land for industrial parks. They also give you a picture right there during that Uganda Investment Authority team and Kamuli district officials in that campaign. Today in history, they're taking you back in 2002, where Bunyoro King Iguru weds. Well, that is also there, and taking you back to 1999, where Chinua Achebe celebrated a Nigerian author of the popular book Things Fall Apart, arrived in his homeland after 9 years abroad.
Now in sports, we're looking at Nachimuni Congo assignment keeps me focused. On the English Premier League, first cut, Man United produced an outstanding display to defeat Liverpool 2-1 and give manager Eric Ten Hag his first league victory. But of course, also Ethiopians in way of shock, that is in the ladies league there, but also inside still looking at Huweju Trump on Ankole tournament, and Isaiah offers sports equipment ahead of national championship.
Now in the New Vision Sport for this morning, not beasts of burden. Well, that is Uganda leading track stars and close friends Winnie Nyonyintono and Halima Nakai burnout, and talking more about the 2022 season starts, and of course with more of their wins in the races they have been through. That is in the New Vision Sport for you this morning. The She Corporates on Sipley Road in Dar, they're looking at the CAF Women Champions League, that is the Sekafa Zono qualifiers, of course, with more details and statistics on how we're doing with the She Corporates right there. But also inside in the New Vision Sport, Taeva shines in France. Now there is more details to that, and of course some of the games going on that are being given out. FIFA ban on Kenya forces out of Ugandans. Well, that is also right there for you. Get yourself a copy and get more details.
Now in the Daily Nation, the smoking gun in Raila's petition. What I'll be looking out in particular when he did present his petition. We're talking about hacking, missing, that is our constituents, hiding the evidence, the turnout, vote inflation and verification, and tallying challenges there. Get yourselves copies of the dailies to be able to get more of the insights of these stories.
Well, it looks like it is still a fluid situation in Kenya. If you look at what the team from Raila Odinga's side is actually presenting, and you wonder, does William Ruto even stand a chance? It looks like they're convinced that the evidence is quite clear. Felix, I don't know whether this is something for Kenyans to be excited about. And we do have a huge fraternity of Kenyans in Uganda. Should they be excited?
Excited? Not really, but we all await to see and get to understand how matters will definitely unveil there in Nairobi. Now that the matter is being handled as a presidential electoral petition before the Supreme Court, that is the only court that does have the jurisdiction to cover such particular petitions. But the matter now being sub judice does limit a lot of our discourse into this particular case.
Well, we do hope that at the end of the day, actually, there is justice, and of course, the delayed jubilations for William Ruto could also come through, but also maybe see justice for Raila Odinga. Well, away from that, we also want to take you through the roads for this morning across Kampala, and this morning I want to focus more on Entebbe Road. If you're going to be using Entebbe Road this morning, you need to be aware that at least some of the areas that are joining in, especially if you look at the Chibuye roundabout, there is a little bit of traffic, and of course most of that highlighted in the dark orange colors, indicating that if you're crossing over right from Chibuye market area and all the way towards Salama Road, that road is actually big with traffic, very dark colors right there, indicating that you could be delayed for quite some minutes. But again, also it gets more traffic. There is more traffic building up towards the roundabout, that is the Chibuye roundabout, and of course even roads coming through from the Rubiri area. You look at that road from Makindye as well, joining into that roundabout. That is what is creating much more of that traffic. But again, just after the roundabout, if you're heading away from town, just after Chibuye roundabout, it looks like the traffic is clear, indicating the green lines over there. But again, as you move forward, following the Queensway Road, that is for the cars that are joining in towards Chibuye, it looks like that road is quite clear. But again, those again heading for Kampala using Entebbe Road, it looks like the traffic gets a little bit lighter. But again, as you're heading towards Usafi, that is where you start to see more of the traffic building up, and also there is construction around that area, so that adds to the traffic, the delays over there. But it looks like more of that is just centered around that Queen's Tower. That is where we do have a lot of traffic. But again, as you head over into town, there is more traffic. You could be late for quite a few minutes. Now that is where also the people that are coming in from Kampala towards Entebbe Road, you will get more traffic, especially if you're just headed towards the roundabout. That road that is also joining in from Zambia Road, those joining into Kampala Road will be having a little bit of lighter traffic. But again, for those leaving town, there is a bit of traffic building up over there. Now, continuing with Entebbe Road, as you head towards Kampala Road, you start to see more of the traffic lightening up. It looks like more of that as you head towards Kampala Road starts to lighten up. And of course, you do have quite some clear traffic. But again, as you head onto Kampala Road, you need to be aware of the situation also over there. Now, the roads that are, the cars that are coming in from Ginger Road connecting to Kampala Road, it looks like that traffic for you is quite clear. So you also look into the roads down to City Square. Now, those leaving Kampala using that road, there is a little bit of traffic building up. But if you're just leaving town and heading for Ginger Road, it looks like it is also clear. But also to avoid more traffic that is joining in just from Entebbe Road there, you could decide to take a detour using the square roads. You look at the Shimon Road also right over there, quite a bit clear with traffic. As you head towards the Speak Road, that is also quite clear with traffic. Also the road joining in from Lumumba Avenue, that looks to be quite clear, and the Upper Nakasero Road also looks to be quite clear. So you can be able to avoid the main Kampala Road and take a route towards Lumumba Avenue, also using Nakasero Road, which seem to have quite clear traffic for this morning. Kampala Road, again, if you're also leaving town, there is also more of quite clear traffic. But again, joining into town, you have more traffic building up, indicated right there in the orange colors. Now, also from Kampala Road, if you are headed towards Bombo Road, there is quite some clear traffic, green lines right there, indicating that it is quite a clear road for this morning. And of course, that goes all the way. Even the road that joins in from Nachivubo towards Kampala Road, joining into Bombo Road, looks like that is also clear. And that could be good for you this morning. Bombo Road continues again with clear traffic until you reach mostly the Wandegear roundabout. That is where traffic starts to build up, but also most of that clears just after the roundabout. Looks like it could be a clear route for you if you're leaving town to also use that. By joining town, it would be a wise idea to take to move away from the main road and use a little bit of some of those detours towards town. Well, also this morning we want to take you through the weather situation and how it is looking like over the country. We'll be tapping in from UMITSET satellites, giving us real-time data on what is happening across the country. We are seeing mostly cloudy conditions, and of course starting off with quite some chilly weather. We did have a few rains across areas of Kampala and parts of Entebbe, across the islands, but look like most of that has actually cleared. And most of those rainy systems are just heading westwards. We're looking at more of the rains expected, especially towards midwestern Uganda, Mubende, Hoima. You can't expect to have those rains this morning. We already have a few of those drizzles across Hoima, and also it looks like that system is headed for Mubende. That's where the rains, more rains are going to be for this morning. We still have cloudy weather across West Nile, northern Uganda, the central area, especially for the north. We do expect rains over there as well. That could be coming in later in the morning. We're also starting off with mostly sunny intervals. That is across the Karamoja region. That is looking like we could also be dealing with a little bit of more rains, but that will be later in the afternoon. And of course, looking at what we have for Midwestern, that system is still there, but again, we'll also be dumping a few rains towards areas of Fort Portal, where we're seeing most of those orange colors and blue colors. That's the rainy system that I'm talking about, but also it is expected to be heading westwards, and of course that might bring us more rains, especially if you're heading towards the areas of Fort Portal. You also look at that Lake Albert region, expected to have most of those rains. Now also southerly, if you look at areas of southwestern Mbarara, Bushenyi, that is where we also have right now a mix of clouds and sunshine, but we could be looking at more rains as the morning progresses. Now, mostly also taking a look at the Lake Victoria Basin. This is where we started off with much more of those rains that did clear up, but it looks like that system could be redeveloping, and we will be seeing at least some rains coming through for even parts of Kampala, Wakiso, Entebbe, but most of that will be in lighter quantities. We also look at the eastern side of Lake Victoria, that is towards areas of Jinja, Tororo, Busia. We're starting off with quite some sunny skies, indicative of those dark blue colors right there on the screen. But again, it looks like we could be having, in terms of cloudy conditions as the morning progresses, more of the rains are expected in the afternoon for most of those areas. But we will continue with mostly sunny intervals. Of the western part of Lake Victoria looks to be having mostly cloudy conditions that will be mixed with sunny intervals. Parts of central as well, Ruero, Nakasongola, Kamudi, we're looking at cloudy conditions. It looks like we could continue with most of that. It will be mostly sunny throughout much of the morning. We'll be having more of the rains coming through later in the afternoon. That is across areas within Nakasongola, Ruero. That system is trying to move away even as we speak. That will leave room for mostly warm weather with the sunny intervals. Now you look at mostly the eastern part of Choga. That is where we have areas of Katakwi, Amuria, Soroti. We're having mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions as we speak, but again there are those clouds that are starting to build up. That is the system that will be bringing us a few rains this morning across areas of Amuria, Kabera, Maido as well. You look at areas of Lira, we could be having a few of those rains reappearing this morning, but also those will be clearing as we head towards the afternoon, and more rains will be towards the western side of northern Uganda, that is across the West Nile. But eastern lowlands, where we have Budaka, Palisa, Bukedia, those areas are still expected to have isolated showers, quite a little bit of rains, and those will be also over a few areas. That takes in areas of Mbali across the Elgon region. We will be seeing more of those rains at least later as the morning progresses, but also that system is likely to reappear later in the afternoon. Now generally we're looking at quite some low temperatures starting off for most areas within the country, and of course that is also attributed to the fact that we have a mostly cloudy coverage across the country. And we could be seeing much more of that, especially towards the southern sector. We also have mostly northern Uganda picking up in terms of wet weather conditions. Again, that will also keep temperatures a little bit down. You look at eastern Uganda, temperatures are within the upper 20s, meaning that by afternoon at least we'll be looking at more of the warm weather. But this morning also starting off quite sunny over there. And at Lake Victoria Basin, that is where we have the nation's capital, Kampala. We have Entebbe, we have Wakiso, Mukono. We're looking at also highs of mid-20s, 25 to 26. Meaning that it will be quite some pleasant weather, at least nothing much to complain, maybe until the rains come through that are still expected within the forecast for this morning. But again, we will be looking at mostly warm weather coming through as we head towards the afternoon. Now Kabale Highlands, especially across Kabale, Kisoro, that area is still dealing with cold weather. Maximum of 23 could be looked at for today, but also the morning starting off with 20s. That could be cooler weather. Also the mist over there does make the visibility quite low for Kabale Highlands, but of course that also has been a normal weather across that area for this time of the year. It is expected, if you're a resident, you will be very comfortable with that, but if you're moving towards such areas, you need to be aware that it is quite a cool weather over there and prepare for it. Well, that is it in terms of weather for this morning. We will be having Good Morning Uganda agenda coming your way right after this, and of course after that we'll be having sports highlights, after which we will be also going through Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show. Because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
It's better to foster respect instead of fear and pain.
Cause a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This expression sounds like a guessing game about food.
Jonathan, I can't find anyone to watch my cat while I'm away. And I have asked everyone.
You haven't asked me. What am I? Chopped liver?
Jonathan, the last time you watched my cat, you put her in a cat prison.
It was a pet spa.
We use this expression when we feel upset at being overlooked or ignored. It's another way of saying, what about me? In parts of America, chopped liver is traditionally served as a side dish and not the main course. So it's a food that is more easily forgotten. And that's English in a Minute.
Oh, Susan, I want to propose to Rose. Yes, and this time I am serious.
Have you guys had sex?
Duh, of course.
And have you had sex without using condoms?
Hey, Nga, you're curious.
I'm more concerned. Are you having sex with other people?
Hey, hello, is this an interview or what?
No, just things you should think about. Do you know Rose's HIV status?
Okay, this is serious. Should I be worried?
It is actually serious. Do you know your HIV status?
I think I am safe. Many times we get into situations that put us at risk of HIV. However, the first step to ending HIV is getting tested and knowing your results.
It's Time Up HIV. Call 0800-211-046 or text 8080 toll-free for more information about how to prevent HIV.
This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health with support from USAID.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono. It is a cold morning fairly here in Kampala, but I'm sure if you've been with us from the hour of 6:30, well, Mollen, Kenyena has given you what the weather of the day will be like. So ensure you fit into that. Well, today we are going to be discussing yet another issue very important to many Ugandans as of late, and that is labor externalization. And we want to look at safety and health of immigrant workers. We must understand that of late there is a lot of migration of youth to the Middle East looking for greener pastures. Now, what is happening is, over a time, we've had a series of nasty incidents where some have reported permanent body damages, others temporarily. Some have returned in caskets. And yesterday there was also a very unbecoming scene that was at the embassy of Saudi Arabia, where we saw a group of youth that went with a coffin at the embassy. And they were protesting. That is what is happening, the welfare, the treatment of immigrant workers in particularly Saudi Arabia, where I know it's the only part, or it's the only country to which Uganda has a bilateral agreement to externalize domestic workers. Now, joining me on set is Ashe Chitandwe. He is the CEO of Enjazi Limited, Uganda, one of the companies that, among other things they do, is also labor externalization, with whom we are going to be discussing this. Ashe, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, viewers.
And I must wish you a belated happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you.
Though I've not yet received my cake, but I'm also here to deliver my cartons of Hallelujah Ginger Tea, Hallelujah Tamarind, and Hallelujah Banana Juice to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Robert. I will be waiting. Thank you.
Definitely. Now, Ashe, to begin with, many good things are happening, and I want us to be so particular this time on issues of domestic workers.
Right.
We've had a number of successful stories, I must say. People who've gone, they've worked, they have returned.
Right.
But we've also had pockets. Because as I tell Ugandans that for me, I look at average. Yes, no life should be lost, no person should be mistreated.
Right.
But if we look at the thousands that are in the Middle East as domestic workers, if you go to our airport, you have over 1,000 girls leaving Uganda on daily.
Right.
But when you look at these cases, a few.
Right.
But one thing that comes to my mind is, what isn't Uganda doing right that the Philippines, who have been there for over 40 years, doing the same work that Ugandans do, one, and better than our domestic workers from Uganda. Two, they don't have these cases. yet they have lived longer. So what is that we are missing as a country?
Right. Thank you so much, Robert, for that question. First of all, Robert, like you mentioned in your preamble, Saudi Arabia is the only country where Ugandans are allowed to go and work as domestic workers. Secondly, Robert, if I may begin with the Philippines model, like you've mentioned, the Philippines model talks about presence in the country of deployment. And in this case, Uganda is supposed to have, and that is the Ministry of Labor and presence in Saudi Arabia. Yes, we have the embassy, but the embassy is not facilitated to that level. If you discuss with them, they will tell you, we actually don't really have a budget for your staff, you know, labor and stuff like that. So, one, allocate funds into this particular area. Two, have physical presence. If people have a remedy, you know, an office where to run to, then you will be able to actually minimize some of these cases. But nevertheless, Robert, for us as recruitment agencies, we've endeavored to do so much. And one of the things we've done is to have our own supervisors, managers, coordinators to handle any cases that may arise in the course of the deployment of, or during the working of these migrant workers. But also, there are issues that we can't go into. For example, if, for example, a domestic worker decides to run away from their employer's house and the police arrests them, then that's automatically going into the hands of the government of Saudi Arabia. So, for us as recruitment agencies, we have to wait on the processes, the procedures to be followed on handling such a person until they are repatriated back home. But one of the things that normally happens is that they are sent to what they call a removal center, what some people call detention centers. But these are removal centers, then they process on their repatriation. But that can take 6 months, that can take 8 months, can take a year. Because, I mean, governments have their own procedures they follow. So now, if that happens, remember these removal centers, of course they've got medical centers within and stuff like that. But going back to the other question, the problem is sometimes we have deaths that are caused by natural causes. Sometimes we have deaths that are caused that are preventable, but because there is negligence on the side of the employer.